It's a Bethesda game in space, and I say that with the utmost respect and awe of this game, because what we're about to expect from a Bethesda game is similar to the themes and vision that they have for this game. Infinite possibilities. And where can they go? Starfield is beautiful, expansive, and I don't know if I'll ever see it all, but what I do know, it's not what we expect. It's a new standard, and I got to explore it and the whole Black Sea. It's more than just Fallout in space or Skyrim in space. Starfield is different. Here's an OwlickWho played Starfield, A New Age for Bethesda. Exploration is everything. The theme, what this whole game is about, exploration. There are star systems just scattered all throughout for you to dive deeper with their varying planets and even more moons, to all the different types of civilizations, to thriving cities, to remnants of the past, to outposts, to barren wastes. The group you're a part of, Constellation, has one mission: explore and go into the unknown. And the game hits on all marks for that vision and goal. Everything is about what could be out there and the possibilities it gives you. Meet colonists on a moon you randomly landed on, grav jump into a new star system and be attacked by pirates on the way in. See a thriving city in New Atlantis while jumping to Neon to get the world's best club drug. What Todd Howard and the team envisioned is a world and galaxy just ready to be explored. And I think they accomplished that central theme. Each gameplay design element to story beat works to serve that purpose, and for that, I think it's a positive part of the experience I thoroughly enjoyed. When I say the following, it can be both a good thing and a bad thing, depending if you have a lot of hype for this game or if you truly just want to hate on it. You can do so much in this game. Even with multiple weeks to play, I'm not sure I got everything. You can get sucked into outpost building for 3 hours or design a new ship all day before your mission. You may hear a rumor just casually walking the streets and you get to investigating in your activity tab and it turns into a whole day of side questing and you still feel like you haven't made a dent in your overall quest log. It can be overwhelming. For me and my little ADHD hyper-focusing little brain, I loved it. For my reviewer brain, I would catch myself at 2 a.m. surveying a planet looking for creatures to scan and forgot the whole reason I came here, which was to investigate a distress call. But what's it feel like to actually play this game? Some parts are great, and some feel the same, whereas some feels overwhelming. I'll try to give a brief overview of everything you can do in little elements. There's a lot, but I promise I'll save my favorite for last. Bethesda combat is the same, but better. I wouldn't say I come into their games for the combat. It's not offensive combat, and I like it enough, but it still keeps to its simple roots as an FPS. But with that being said, I feel the feedback from actually attacking feels a lot better. It might be just feels like more weightier shots or more decisive melee attacks, but it's not enough to make me think that it's taken leaps and bounds better. It feels the same, but it also feels better. At least better than I expected. They do give great set pieces of running and taking on large groups, and that does feel like where the combat is at its best. And I will say it may not have magic, but as we've seen in the trailer, there may be a little more this time around. But ship combat. Now that was a surprise. I typically don't enjoy vehicle gameplay in any game really, but I enjoyed this enough. You feel like you're experiencing every sci-fi trope you've ever seen, diverting power to engines, take down shields for more firepower, or just put it all to your grav drive and get out of there. Taking out a whole fleet is satisfying, and there's a great variance in lasers, cannons, particle beams. You truly feel like a starfighter, and I found myself really wanting to engage every chance I got. It's a system I feel had more depth and fun than expected, yet I feel like they're only scratching the surface of what that can accomplish. Traveling in said ship though, I'm not sure where these random controversies come, but you do just travel in general orbits and use fast travel from planet to planet, grav jumping from system to system. It's not a bad thing. I think people forget light years are far away, so you don't fly as much as I thought you might have, but I don't see it as a big negative, but it would be cool to see them expand upon this. But the ship itself, and let's even get to outpost building. That's where it can be great, except when it's overwhelming. They don't explain too much and they kind of do it as you go. To be fair, these were meant for end-game, late-game shenanigans. There's rules and requirements for how you build and where things can go, and they're never obvious. And you may scratch your head, which isn't helped by some not as intuitive or somewhat even clunky controls when building these things, which also cost a lot of money and a lot of resources, hence why it's an end-game activity. At first I felt maybe this is where they slacked and was overwhelmed, but at some point while doing it, it just clicks for you. You scrap your whole ship and start from scratch and build a beast with so much fuel and grav jumps that also melts while staying in budget. You find a planet with the right resources and you start building a base. It's systems like this I don't think are egregious but aren't the most beginner friendly. Which though, for base building and resources, I found surveying my favorite and most pleasurable experience. Exploring a planet, scanning flora and fauna, finding a cave and seeing a mystery unfold, like who could have possibly lived on an inferno planet and for how long were they there? That's back to this world of exploration. Seeing the difference in a barren moon to a place with pirates, it's a fun fun experience that I utilized all my photo modes for. The other aspect is the character interactions itself, and I think this is gameplay only Bethesda games can do, and it's here where I felt they showed care and polish for their formula, where I found it to be great. Persuasion is no longer just click and pass, it's a whole mechanic called speech challenge, and it might be my favorite gameplay element. You'll enter into a challenge where each character has points you obtain, and you get options for what you'll say, and depending on how difficult a point is to make, the bigger risk of failure. You can take the easy route, but you risk not getting enough points. Go for the big points but risk it not working and you run out of turns. But it's your skills that make new options like bribery and negotiations happen. But let me touch on the skill tree later. It's not a flat skill and point check, it's a dice roll, and for you Baldur's Gate 3 players, safe scumming is still possible, but it's a little more difficult, as trying to exit or save during a dialogue will leave the conversations, and sometimes that's the wrong option. It's one of the systems that shows that they wanted to be different than before. Another example of this is digipicking for the lockpick system. It's my favorite little puzzle they've ever done, and I love doing it every time. So yes, gameplay in some places is the same, and some is worthwhile when putting in the time, and some, it's a brand new experience. Overall, it's fun to play, and I think that's what's important. I had a good time playing. I want to preserve a lot of the discovery aspects for new players, so I'll give a brief overview and vision of what the story and lore is like. This is a thing that really pushed me over the edge of this game. I wasn't sure on the story at first. It instantly drops you in mystery and exploring truly being the only way to figure out what is going on in this game. But they did manage to bring intrigue without too many exposition dumps. I enjoyed my team with the story and being part of Constellation, an eclectic group of like-minded people with one vision: explore the unknown. Whether it's being a benefactor or you're somebody that's boots on the ground, you can bond with each and every person and see how they tackle this world. Not a bunch of ragtag companions that you kind of interact with and that they kind of interact with each other. No, they're in this story together, and it helps you feel like you are part of a group, not just your group. They each have a backstory to uncover, and you feel a connection with them, and you feel the connections they have with each other. But it's this world that brings it out of them, and this world that they built that has some of my favorite world building choices. People talk and do the young adult novel thing of giving specific names, but it's not overboard. You believe the terms they use, like spacers, people who travel space and fight and are like bandits. They use creds for money. But something like a substance in the city of Neon, where people are a little unscrupulous depending if they're from Ebside or Undercity, obtaining Aurora in the Astro Lounge, that's fun stuff in my opinion. There's a whole history behind where you are now, and you feel the world is still discovering itself. There's whole literal museums to giving you that extra lore. Everywhere you turn, people feel alive in this new universe. The world of Starfield is alive and thriving, with the mystery for you to uncover. Customization plays a large part of Starfield. You are exploring the stars, the character you make. The character creator is more in depth than before, and I believe you can make great people, but to be fair, I'm not great at actually using character creators, but it's still an in-depth system with lots of options for any type of person. I do think with the right tools, you can make anyone. It's a system of using presets and then you kind of refine them, or you blend the different presets. It's interesting, I haven't seen it done like this, and so it can be a little confusing, but I do see where you can probably be as in-depth if you're good at it. But you're first person most of the time anyway, so you might not even see your character, so how about we talk about builds? Part of the creator I loved is the background and traits, the chance to make your character yours. The backgrounds that add into the lore, whether you were a diplomat who has social skills or were a soldier with already ready combat prowess, it does determine some starting skills, but it also gives you unique speech options later, access to quests or paths not available to anyone else, or even rewards, such as I didn't have to wait a full day on this grieving woman because I was a diplomat. She can trust me, I'm a politician. But you have traits which can affect your gameplay in ways such as, say, the way you adapted to space. If you love space, you don't use as much O2, which is like stamina, or maybe you're somebody that likes playing alone with no companion, so you choose to be an introvert so you get a boost in your combat. But even the character creator goes back to that theme of discovery and world building. Align yourself with experience in a faction, or where your roots are, or where you were a native. It can get you access to new voice lines and even quests and rewards. Maybe you're from the United Colonies, so of course you love the establishment. You know all the places, so why wouldn't the barkeep throw in a little extra for a local? Or maybe you were raised as part of a zealot group. It's how you really can put a little distance between playthroughs in a small way. But dialogue isn't everything either. Let's talk about skills. The skill tree is revamped. It's simple, but it's easy to miss how it works. But the whole idea of skill tree is investment. You level up, unlock a point, you put a point in a skill to unlock it, but then you get to level that skill by completing challenges, which you need another point to put in that skill to get more bonuses, such as getting more pistol damage or you're better at persuasion, but each branch of the tree has tiers. You gotta invest so many points in a tier to get to the next one, so by the end of combat, there's not a gun you don't have boosted. By the end of the tech tree, you have everything modified. You theoretically can still become a jack of all trades if you put in enough time, but for a focused playthrough, you'll be rewarded for committing to a style. I do miss a special system and being a caveman in every interaction when you put your intelligence at an all-time low, but I do think this new skill tree feels the same. You have more chances to make a unique person to travel the stars, and maybe each playthrough, which there is a new game plus, but the question will always stand every game: who will you be each time you go through? This game can't be perfect. There's still room for improvement, as every game should have, but this world is large and to expect to know it all just isn't possible. To make every aspect perfect would not be a game that released this year. As I talked about earlier, I think the building systems, whether it's your ship or outpost, could have used with maybe a smoother control system or make it feel less clunky where I don't feel like I can drop a piece and I just can't find it and now I'm just screwed with not being able to make my ship and start over. Sometimes you don't know why things can't go somewhere. In Outpost, without all the skills, you're not sure the capabilities of your outpost or what you need to fix or improve it. A lot of things are locked behind skills that you aren't aware of without reading or researching. Now, this next part isn't a negative per se, but it still feels odd. You build these outposts on a new planet and potentially you're right near an old outpost that's been abandoned or taken over by pirates or spacers. You clear them out and all that's left is, a full computer system, beds, tools, a full establishment. Why not just be able to take over the whole facility? Stuff like that I think would have been one of those things that takes more time, but sometimes it just feels weird. As I was saying, it's not obvious when you need skills or something. You get a boost pack early in the game, but if you never unlock its training, you'll wonder if it's broken or you just don't know how it does this. Now, there's still the normal Bethesda bugs, which are humorous but not groundbreaking, such as someone who normally sits in a chair and no, they're standing when you walk in. And why do all my companions stand so far away? The tracking for companions is incredibly weird too. I'd honestly say this is pretty bad. They're almost always far away and I'll turn around and they are Olympic sprinting to catch up to me to still stand 10 feet behind me, even when they are a part of the conversation. They engage just fine, and the main subject I'm talking to looks at them, but I didn't know they were straining to yell 20 feet away. It's bizarre, but not like an issue. It's something you can laugh off, but I could see it breaking immersion just a little bit. As fun as ship battles go, sometimes the scale is too much or the difficulty will jump, and it just goes from bad to worse fast. Too many ships flying, and it makes me feel like I wish I had a fleet, but no, I'm just a single person. It's not that these are like terrible things, it just feels like this is where there's still room for improvement, but like I said, how could they add everything possible? I already mentioned I could feel overwhelmed. At some point, I didn't know when it would be a good time to explore faction quests since you might be able to join them all. It's just so much to do. Sometimes I feel like organization feels a little hard, what things go where, I get over encumbered too easily. It's just small nitpicky things that don't break the experience, but whenever you do get inconvenienced, it's almost because everything works so well that I'm like, oh, I found something I didn't like and I'm upset. But what's not a con is the performance. This wasn't just a smooth game, it was incredible. Let's talk about it. Everyone expects a buggy mess. Well, everyone would be shocked. To be fair, I played PC with pretty decent specs, and I think it went pretty good. It really was a great play. But no crashes or frame drops, it felt really smooth. What's impressive is when you travel from system to system via grab jump, it doesn't matter the distance. It takes mere seconds. It takes longer to watch a landing sequence than to grab jump itself. I do think on a lower end PC it could push it, but it probably is as optimized an experience as we can get from Bethesda. And no, I didn't play on console, but if the polish and care I've seen so far is throughout the game, I wouldn't expect it to be any worse. In a year of bad PC performance, this may be the jewel, and from Bethesda no less. Starfield is good. It's really good. If you like the Bethesda formula or it's been a while, if you've had a bad taste in your mouth because of Fallout 76 or Fallout 4, I think you can cast them away. Bethesda and Xbox knows the weight this game was going to have. It wasn't just going to be another game. It was a signal that they wanted a new reputation for being a world and universe builder. It has something for everyone to get lost in. It's fun to play through and through. That's the most important part. I like exploring and surveying. I like talking to people. I like quests. I like the ships. I like the customization. I really like this game. I was really impressed. I went in with an open mind, but an excited one. And I think it has lived up to my expectations. I really did want to talk that on a 10 scale, I honestly felt it was like a 9 out of 10. I think I hadn't put too much into the main story and was enjoying everything and wasn't sure why I couldn't bring it to that threshold. And then on my last day leading up to this review, I launched deeper into the story, which just expanded and blew the whole lore and story up, and I just had my mouth agape the whole time. It was a story that actually left me wanting more and to engage with it. It was in that moment that I think I made the decision, and even to sleep on it, that I can give Starfield my 10 out of 10. Not because I think it's perfect, but because I think I found a game that cares. A game that had care, that wanted to be new. It has a vision and execute on those ideals. I understand if you knock it for wanting more, but to call Starfield a bad game, you'd just be a troll or a hater or someone that really didn't even play. I hope I answered all your questions, and I hope I encourage you to go explore the unknown with me. Hey, my name's Alec. Thanks for talking games with me. And remember, games were meant to be fun. Thank you, Bethesda, for the opportunity. Thank you, Hooligans, for getting me my first big review. It means a lot. I'll see you next time.